What's going on, good people? It's your girl, Darker Brown, baby, and the one and the only.
You already know what it is. What's going on, world? Is none other than the outcast of podcasts, Mr. Southside of the ATL. You already know what it is. It's the Mr. Darker Brown. What's happening?
Hey, how are you?
Man, I am fantastic. It looks like the bottom is about to fall out the sky, but other than that, that should cool it off because as been a theme for the last few months, it's hot in Atlanta.
Yes, it was so hot yesterday, and I actually just came from vacation, got my tan on. I came back and felt like I hadn't really left the beach. It feels the same way here.
I mean, all the way down to the humidity. You know what I'm saying? I walked outside to go to the mailbox and almost passed out just from the door, just opening the door to rush of heat that hit you. Like, it's serious, folks. So stay hydrated. Be careful out there. Mind your business because nature will take you out.
Oh, yeah. And speaking of nature taking you out, I got stung by a bee yesterday.
Oh, boy.
And for me, I'm not allergic, but yes, nature will take you out. I'm very fortunate to not be allergic, but I know that a lot of people are, and I did not have an EpiPen. Can't tell you the last time I got stung by a bee, so it's not like I know or I knew or was prepared.
Listen, you know that incident I was dealing with at the beginning of summer when the Hornets decided to build a freaking hotel on my house, so I can relate to the nature story. Speaking of this week, Dark, I don't know if you've heard, but the news relayed today, we lost an icon, and Bob Barker.
Yeah.
All jokes aside, children, people of a certain age know that when you were sick and had to miss a day of school, there was one thing that pretty much every kid did, and that was watch Price is Right. Bob Barker was always there for you growing up. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's crazy how much I remember being sick and specifically watching The Price is Right when I was sick, and that was kind of like a little treat when I'm out of school. So R.I.P. to the great Bob Barker.
Rest in peace. I mean, he is one of those foundational people on TV that raised multiple generations, and
absolutely
the standard for those kinds of shows, and that show is still going because of him. Really,
an advocate for animal rights and spade and neutering your animals. Like, Bob really, he was doing a lot of that like way before it was even close to being the norm. You know what I'm saying? Like, he was out there advocating for his.
Right. So thank you for bringing that up.
Amen. Yeah, shout out to Bob and all the work he put in. Also, on a sad note, briefly, we'll touch on the shootings in Jacksonville. There was a mass shooting yesterday, appears to be by a white supremacist, more than likely a Trump follower, and I don't say that lightly. He had a manifesto that he provided to his parents, to the FBI, and to the media, basically saying, "I hate niggers," and he promptly went out and killed 3 innocent black folk who were at a Dollar General minding their business.
I mean, at the Dollar General, I mean, come on. That's the most, like, whatever place. I shop at the Dollar General all the time.
Right. Like, it's literally like the great Stop and Shop where you can run in there and get whatever you need and get out and spend like $5, right? And then on top of that, it was near HBCU. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, like he specifically did what he was doing to target those people, and it's just wholly and completely unfortunate. But here's the thing, right? When you have the governor of the state out here advocating anti-wokeness and the war on woke, and then you start banning African American history in colleges, and you start getting rid of DEI programs, and if you don't know what DE&I stands for, it's diversity, equity, and inclusion. When all of a sudden these things are bad, and all of a sudden we must fight and we must kill the woke mind virus infecting people, this is the end result of that kind of language. This is the end result of that type of behavior. You have people shooting innocent folks in the street.
It's really scary, and having, you know, loved ones who live in the area, knowing that, you know, they weren't that far away. I mean, this stuff is too close to home, and it's too often, and we can expect it based on the things that you just talked about, based on the fact that just like when Trump was in office, you still got these people who are saying these words and stuff online, and people are still being fueled by You know, the things that are said, the things that they hear, the videos, the rhetoric, the ideology, the stuff that's on TV and the places that they live. And I mean, that's costing real lives. And so, I mean, I don't know what it's going to take. It's like we need to know, we need to have these people identified. But if we can do it before they kill people, this country doesn't seem to be very good at that. Right. A lot of these school shootings, a lot of these students and people who have had rap sheets or multiple, you know, interactions with either law enforcement or health or, you know, teachers, counselors, and there have been red flags, and then ultimately these people still are able to get guns.
And the absolute wrong people at that. Right. And this will lead us into our first topic of the show. But one thing I definitely want to point out, and one thing that it completely aggravated me outside of Ron DeSantis being a pretty much no-show in Florida during the situation. But, you know, part of that is, you know, maybe that community probably doesn't even want Ron DeSantis in Jacksonville right now. And I can completely, I can respect that 110%. But more importantly, is one of the quote-unquote stars of the Republican presidential debate, Vivek Ramaswamy, commented that basically the shooting is kind of the end result of Black and brown people taking rights away from other people. And he said that when you have so much pushback in one direction, that this is the obvious outcome. And this goes back to something we've spoken about time and time again with the Republican platform, and that being the racism being such a feature of the platform now, as opposed to being an error or an abnormality of the profile of the party's platform. Rather,
I mean, he's not wrong, and fuck him. And say
that twice. You know what I'm saying? Like for real, for real. And it's amazing, you know, and I don't mean to cut you off, but real quick, it's just amazing how easily they found darker shaded people, Black, brown people to run with the white supremacist angle. I mean, you know, that Candace Owens, it's so many people of color that are so willing to jump aboard these ugly, nasty, horrible trends. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I mean, I think that you're right. I think that Ramaswamy has aligned himself with a party and a mindset that benefits a lot of people who look like him, who have been able to benefit from the system for various reasons. Talking about, you know, his folks being able to come over and like within a generation, you know, like be totally fine or whatever. And the fact that a lot of people who do come over in this country have access to funds and capital that people who live here, Black people, don't have access to or aren't able to get, you know, access to education and all that stuff. And so thinking through the lens of the model minority that a lot of times the Asian American Pacific Island identity folks are able to reap the benefit from is Ramaswamy, who is able to run for president, have a $1 billion company, and talk about how coal, nuclear, drilling, fracking were all on the table, should be on the table. So Ramaswamy has chosen a side. He has chosen the side of the white man. And I think he did a great job at the debate. I think that in my mind, and thinking about some of the attributes I think that Republicans enjoy seeing in their candidates is his willingness to fight, his willingness to take up space and to be rowdy. They like that. That's why they like Trump. He speaks his mind. Same thing with Ramaswamy.
I think it's scary to me, honestly. I think it's so scary how much nastiness is so much a part of everything they do. You know what I mean? Like in a time where 3 innocent Black people have been killed while they were shopping in a Dollar General, you make it a purpose to focus on Black and brown people getting too many rights and issues. And like you said, at the same time, your parents were immigrants, but your anti-immigrant stance is nothing less than what a white supremacist organization would advocate for. There is no invasion at the border. America doesn't belong to anybody. America belongs to everybody, right? It's the melting pot, right? Bring me your poor, your sick, blah, 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 right? That's America. That's what quote unquote America was built on, right? But it's like a Greg Abbott in Texas with the floating buoys that are killing people. Like, why, what's the need of the nastiness? You know what I'm saying? Like, I wish we could go back to a time where politics was about ideology. We could disagree on things, right? But we didn't have to be nasty. Right. We didn't have to say your son was a crackhead and then bring nude pictures of your son to congressional hearings to try to embarrass you and your family.
Lord help us. No. Right.
You know what I'm saying? Can we get back to that? You know what I mean? Like we have a political party that has openly weaponized the government and the committee based on the fighting of weaponizing the government. Jim Jordan is actually trying to investigate Fonnie Willis, not to get ahead of ourselves, but he's trying to investigate Fonnie Willis to see whether or not she was coordinating with the federal government when she was investigating the sitting former president.
She went to Rico to Rico?
Right. And I'm like, you all continue to break laws. You continue to advocate and look like fools for someone who was openly committing crimes on live camera.
Well, and so I forgot the picture. My bad.
Oh, you good? We're good because we can definitely dig into debates. But go ahead.
No, I just wanted to share. I mean, here are the 8 Republicans. Here are the 8 that were able to attend. Some familiar faces. You've got, and so I'm going to just do it in order, in my personal opinion. Chris Christie, for me, has kind of gotten my respect from some time ago. He's a straight shooter. I feel like he's more of a person and a Republican that I wouldn't mind hearing from because he doesn't really go with the bullshit for the most part. I think that he showed up that way at the debate. I think that DeSantis, I had never really seen DeSantis speak before. I never really seen him outside of like sound bites. Mm-hmm. I was really disappointed. Yeah. He really doesn't have a command of like the stage and space, and he isn't someone that like, oh, I should be listening. You know, some people like command you.
He has no charisma.
None.
He has no charisma. He's weird. You don't watch The Boys. You don't watch The Boys, right, on Amazon?
I've seen it. I know that.
There are memes of him and Homelander, and it's freaking scary. Like, it is scary. And it's like, if he has those same tics, like, nah, man, we don't need President Homelander, but continue, please.
Yeah, no, you're right. So DeSantis, he was whack. He really couldn't step outside of what he had memorized. Ramaswamy took up a lot of space and came out swinging and spoke his points. He was brash. I think that he was definitely got like top contender of the presidential debate. I think that what's her face, Nikki Haley, she did a great job. She held it down. She was very straightforward, had like actual logical thoughts. I think she did an incredible job at the debate. She wasn't as loud and brash as Ramaswamy, but like she actually had like the content and like the experience and like, the gravitas to bring to the space.
She didn't back down from the opportunity. That's for damn sure.
No, she didn't. I think she did a really incredible job. Like content-wise, I think she definitely took the cake. I think that, what is that, Abbott at the bottom? I can't remember his name.
That's Asa Hutchinson, former governor of Arkansas.
Hutchinson. Yeah, he was forgettable, old white man. I think that Pence, definitely old white man. He is from another time. Mm-hmm. I feel like I'm 8 years old when Pence talks. You know what I'm saying? Like when we used to watch TV and see those other things like back in the day. And I think that ideology showed up in how he spoke and how Ramaswamy spoke. Looking at two different ends of the kind of Republican political spectrum, you could argue. Tim Scott was totally forgettable. He annoys the crap out of me. I don't like his mouth. And he really didn't have like a whole lot to say. And he was like forgettable. And then the old boy on the right was forgettable. I don't even know his name. So those
are Tom Burgesson, I think.
Thank you. Those are Lindsay's 2-second thoughts on the Republican debate.
I like that. I'll do the same just as briefly. Of course, I loved Chris Christie because he was bringing that heat and slapping down all the BS. Yeah. And they may not like him for obvious reasons, but he is needed. Because when history looks back on these debates, they will be able to see in real time that there were counterpoints and there were people actively with facts trying
Right.
to speak against the crazy nonsense, and they were booed in real time. And people won't be able to say, well, all the majority didn't. No, the majority was booing the shit out of Chris Christie, and all he bought was facts. So you cannot like it, but it doesn't change the fact.
But they now, yes, they boo, but there was a time specifically when he spoke about Trump when there were some claps in the audience.
Absolutely more, and it was shocking how many claps it were. And to me, that should have been a note for all the rest of them,
Right.
especially when it came to. Well, I'll get to it. All right, we'll go to DeSantis. Right, like you said, he has no charisma. He doesn't stand a chance. He's an asshole, and he can't help but be an asshole, and it shows. You know what I'm saying? And if you like that, you like that. But like, it's not hard to smile. That's not hard. And when you watch him give those answers, and he would finish his answer, and he's like, and it's like a half a second, and it's like, nah, bro, that's not it, man. Vivek is literally a talking point for Fox News and News Nation and all these conservative organizations. He's a person of color who's decided, I'm going to wear the racist angle, and I'm going to make these people love me because I give them that cover to say, I'm not racist. I support that brown Mickey Ficky with the funny name. How can I be racist? And my favorite candidate's name is Vivek Ramaswamy. I can't be racist if that's my guy, even though he found out the most racist, openly racist nonsense out there. Nikki Haley was good. But she failed when it came down to it. She took an F, and I'll tell you why. Asa Hutchinson, he doesn't have the personality. He has control of the facts, but he's a piece of crap, just like the rest of them. And oh well. Mike Pence decided to fight back. He decided to fight back half-assed, and decided to fight back too late. It won't happen for Mike Pence. Right now, I think all he's fighting for is his legacy and trying to make sure people understand that he's a good right-wing Christian, that, like you said, that represents a certain time in conservative history. And when it came down to it, he supported the Constitution. Right. Like you said about Tim Scott, he is completely and totally forgettable. Tim Scott had every opportunity to rise above the fray and take that Republican pole position and run with it. And he fumbled. He did. And he chose to be the Republican voice of defiance. Mitt Romney knew he couldn't do it because he'd already failed. But if Tim Scott took that role that Mitt Romney was trying to run, that anti-Trump role, and got those 17 Republicans to vote for impeachment, that motherfucker would be top of the heap right now. He missed his opportunity. He missed it completely. Yeah. All right. And lastly, like you said, Tom Bergeron, oh well. I don't even know if that's his real name. So, oh well. But when I say that Nikki Haley failed and Mike Pence failed, I mean on one specific point when they were asked that if Donald Trump is found guilty, would you support him for president? Everybody who raised their hand, to me, completely is inconsequentially, no doubt, unqualified for office. And what's weirder is when I look at these 8 candidates, Donald Trump legitimately almost had 2 of these candidates killed. He gave Chris Christie COVID while they were in the presidential debates. While Chris Christie was in the hospital in ICU for over a month, Donald Trump called Chris Christie and said, "Hey, you're not going to tell the press I gave you this, are you?" Oh no! Wow. Chris Christie didn't know if he was going to walk out of the hospital. This piece of shit calls him and says, "You're not going to tell the press I gave you this, are you?" All right, so that's number one. Number 2, obviously, was Mike Pence didn't do the right thing. Mike Pence is weak. I don't know what to do. And this is why people were saying, hang Mike Pence. 25% of the people on that stage were almost killed by Donald Trump. Think about how outrageous that is. Right. But it's 100% true. I don't understand how someone facing 91 felony counts, who probably will be found guilty of an overwhelming, I will say a majority of them, right? And you can say this man is qualified to be dog catcher. We got to stop.
I mean, well, let's talk about it. Let's talk about some of those charges.
Let's talk about them because it's that time. Trump, for those who don't know, was finally indicted in Atlanta. Fani Willis gave Trump and his buddies 2 weeks to report to jail here in Atlanta. And lo and behold, over the course of these 2 weeks, all of them slowly but surely have reported to Rice Street that Donald Trump's ass was effectively booked, and his ass is now considered in custody of the Atlanta and Fulton County jail system.
And it is a beautiful thing. And I can't believe I didn't put the headshot on here. Now that I'm looking at the slide, I'm realizing like maybe I didn't finish.
You mean this headshot? This headshot? Ah, there you go. There's your headshot right there, folks.
That's the one. That's it. That's the one we were looking for. Hey, man, I think this is something that a lot of people have been waiting on for a long time. And absolutely. I know for you, it was very gratifying. For me, and I want to just, let's enjoy that for a minute. The first president in the United States to have a mugshot. And where did it happen? It happened in our town.
On the west side.
You're welcome. You're welcome, which is why I thought the meme was so funny. It's an Atlanta meme on Instagram. It's just so funny because he literally went to the Fulton County Jail where there's like a federal investigation for like lice, all kind of or
yeah, the bed bugs ate that inmate a couple months ago. Ate the brother alive. He was waiting on trial, and bed bugs literally ate the man alive.
So this has a very gratifying piece to it. Now, that being said, it was a bit anticlimactic for me.
Very much.
Why was it for you?
The fleet of law enforcement that he had, both leaving New York and arriving in Atlanta and taking him to the jail facility. I don't know if you all saw it, but it was outrageous. It was probably in the neighborhood of 20 to 30 police officers that escorted this man to and from the airport. Yeah. Joe Biden doesn't have that level of security with him going to and from anywhere. But that's just me. But that's part of why it was anticlimactic, was that they went so far to allow him to put on such a show. You know what I mean? Process his ass like everybody else. Reality needs to come sooner than later.
Which is what they did. They processed him. They said, well, he was in and out to and from the airport in Atlanta in an hour. That whole thing, like he landed, transported, booked, went back to the airport, did a press conference, got back on the plane within an hour. Now that, my friends, is white privilege if you have ever seen it.
Because if you don't know, you are not getting out of the Atlanta airport in an hour, folks. You're not getting to your destination and back to the airport in an hour. You're not getting out of the airport in the first hour. That was nonsense.
Yeah, definitely. And so it's like, no, Donald Trump is not president. And he is not special. However, he was clearly very special when he came to Atlanta. But I will say, and I called you, Marcus, while it was happening because I was just freaking out. So I'm hoping your eardrums have healed from my screaming on the phone. Just the simple fact that the entire cavalcade was going through like Atlanta, like the deep rooted Southern civil rights, Black parts of the city. Was feeling real good. It's one of those things that through my ancestors, I felt it. I just felt it. So I don't know, how do you feel about it?
I was loving it. Although there were several surprises. Anybody who saw, let's start with the brother that was wearing the niggas for Trump shirt. Let me rewind that. Whoa. Let's start with the brother that was wearing the niggas for Trump shirt. Yes, I said that correctly. NIGGAS for Trump shirt. I don't know where they found this nigga, but they need to take his ass back.
They did.
He was on TV. Oh yeah, Donald Trump. They always railroad black men like this, and this happening to Trump. And I'm a Trump fan. I'm like, what the fuck? Where did they find this clown? For real?
Yeah.
And then you see the videos of the caravan processing through the west side. He got black folks on the side of the road. Free Donald Trump. For real?
Mm-hmm.
I got a 4-letter word that starts with F for Donald Trump, but I promise you it's not free. And I wish I had been on the side of the road so I could have gave him that 2-finger salute saying exactly just that, F Donald Trump.
Yeah, one for each hand. Yeah, so it is so things nowadays are not straightforward. Things
Absolutely.
are not black and white. Like they are as black and white as ever. However, they're not black and white. And there are people who are bleeding into spaces that don't serve them. And some of the people who are bleeding into spaces that don't serve them are black folks. Black folks who support Trump, Republicans, that the policies, the anti-vaccination, all that stuff. I mean, there are black people that support that stuff, and so it just is what it is.
I look at that. There are people who love to be contrarian, whatever contrarian way be. And the fact that probably 90% of the black folks on this country that are informed absolutely detest Donald Trump, that means those contrarians are absolutely going to side with them because they have to be against what X, Y, and Z person is for. Right. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But like I said, man, we're not a monolithic group. Black folks have all kind of different personalities, and we come from different aspects. But I was a little disgusted seeing my people out there saying, free this clown who would just as quickly have you locked up and thrown in jail and have all of your rights taken away and take your money and do X, Y, and Z to you, and doesn't want anything done to him, regardless of how guilty he is.
Well, as someone who's from Atlanta and based off of our last show with Dr. V and Mr. P, as you mentioned, Marcus, the country owes Georgia and Atlanta a debt of gratitude. Here we are again. Fonnie Willis is holding down the accountability for with a handful of other Black women and Black people across the country. Got that mugshot for your motherfucking ass. World, you welcome. Okay?
And you know what? You know what, Darker? Guess what?
What's up?
There was no earthquake that opened up a hole in the United States of America and people started falling into it. There were no comets that fell and meteorites that destroyed cities. People have woken up and moved on. In fact, it's been 4 days since he's gotten that indictment, and the world continues to roll. And guess what? When he's found guilty of these crimes and he is placed in prison for real, the same thing is going to happen. At some point, y'all have to get over the fact that this man was a former president and understand that this man was also a former criminal, and he was a criminal exponentially longer than he was a president.
That's right.
And the whole while he was a president, he was a criminal exponentially better than he was before he was president because he had that much more power. Yeah. This isn't complicated at all.
It's not.
And one thing that I find puzzling and a little infuriating. I don't know if you've been paying attention to conservative media and how they are going out of their way to say that Donald Trump, because he's been in jail and because he's been wronged by the justice system, is now becoming a hero to Black people and to the urban Black community because they know what it's like for someone to be falsely accused and taken as prisoner to the system. And that's why those Black people are out there saying, free Donald Trump. What liberals don't realize is they now made Donald Trump a hero to the Black community because you put him in jail. These people really think we are that fucking stupid.
And the ones, the Negroes that were standing on the side of the street are. So are they wrong? No.
But here's the thing. We know those people don't vote. When I saw those people, I said those are what they call those low information voters, if they are voters at all. Those people don't vote. No, they don't vote. They can't. No one can look at what happened to Ruby Freeman alone and say that, yeah, those people, that's my team. Mm-hmm. Because if that was your grandmother, and 2 or 3 Black folks pulled her off to the side and said, hey, you need to do X, Y, and Z, and some bad things are going to happen to you in X, Y, and Z, we wouldn't be down with that. I don't care who it was for. So people better recognize, man. And that's why Kanye's publicist is in jail or went to jail behind this. And let me say something real quick on that. Travion Fruity or Tootie, whatever her name was. Real quick on that. Why hasn't anyone remarked on the fact that while she was arrested for harassing Ruby Freeman on foot to benefit Donald Trump, she was employed by Kanye West, who was also running for president.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So why was Kanye West employing who I'm sure was employed by the Kanye West presidential campaign at the time, out here doing criminal political favors for Donald Trump?
That's a great question.
Because everybody kept telling us that Kanye's presidential campaign was not a offshoot of the Trump campaign to siphon off black voters who would be stupid enough to vote for Kanye West. But that was a legitimate political campaign. So why are his campaign workers in jail for trying to influence voting workers for Donald Trump? That's just a question I have. That's all. I know you don't have the answer because you can't have the answer, but I'm just curious as to why that's not a story.
I don't know. It should be. I think you should send it in.
Right. You would think that, right? Because Kanye West was eliminated. He didn't win hardly any votes. He didn't have anything to do with Trump versus Biden in the end. So why is his publicist and probable campaign worker out here trying to goddamn harass innocent, older, elderly black ladies? Makes you wonder, don't it?
Not a bad question, Bert. You got anything else for these folks?
Doc, I don't have a thing, man. You got anything you want to tell them before we get out of here?
No, I don't.
I do have one thing. Shout out to Dr. V and Mr. P. Listen, that was amazing. I can't wait to get with y'all and do it again. That black excellence was excellent. You know what I'm saying? I hope y'all stuck around and checked that whole piece out. There were some audio issues at the beginning of that, but I promise you, if you stick around for the entire 2 hours, we're going to have to talk to Mr. P about that, by the way. If you stick around.
Thank you. That was awesome.
If you stick for the entire 2 hours, I promise you, folks, you will be greatly entertained. That was real stuff. And guess what? There's more of that to come. So stay with us. For real, for real. So, Doc, do you have anything else before we roll?
Not a word. I hope you have a good rest of your afternoon.
All right, folks. Y'all stay hydrated. Stay out that heat. Until next time, y'all. Peace.
Bye.